Say we gon' set your day right, yeah. Na, 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 na. We gon' turn it up nice. Na, 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 na. Get ready for the time of your life. We bring the vibes and we bringing it right. We're the Brunch Bunch, doing it right, doing it right. Go we on here and we ready to bring the fire. Turn the radio up. Go we on here with the Brunch Bunch, take it higher. Turn the radio up. Go we on here and we ready.
Sitting here posted with your girl Tamera Fair on the air and your main man. I've been looking for a tail or some new growth that came on because I know he got the vaccine over the weekend, so I figured in 2 or 3 days it should start manifesting itself. I see you got horns sticking out your head.
You looking at your own reflection.
I
This
know,
your
right?
main man, Action Jackson. And you got to stay tuned because I got some news about this vaccination.
Oh, so you didn't get it?
I said I got some news about this vaccination.
Well, you know that it's been said for you to actually not love, but hate your enemies and love whatever.
Yeah, I'm like you. I think you may have jacked that one up.
You've heard it said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But the Lord says for you to love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. For you will be the children of God. And I am sitting with one of the children of God today. So I am excited. And I know that I am talking to several children of God. So you know what? I want to say to each one of you, so many things flow throughout our hearts. Energy flows throughout our lives. And I just say, let it pass through. Don't allow it to block your blessings. Don't let the valves in your energy flow get clogged, because that's where your blessings come from, the flow of good, positive energy. So I want to say today that we are giving you a bouquet of blessings, of good, positive energy. Now it's Money Monday, so you know we got resources up the yin yang. I want you guys to get your pens and paper out, and I want you to make sure that when we tell you what to do, we also going to tell you what not to do. Right here on Inspiration 1390. Don't go nowhere. We got way more to share. It's right here, right here, right here, right here. As promised, you know, we're going to tell you what to do and what not to do. Apparently, the people that I'm about to talk to you today are not believers and listeners of the Brunch Bunch. 3 women busted in a massive $1.25 million unemployment. Federal prosecutors said Friday that they have charged 3 Southern California women with using prison inmates' names to bilk the state agency out of combined nearly $1.2 million in coronavirus-related unemployment benefits. The latest allegation is an ongoing scandal that costs hundreds of millions of dollars. The 3 are among a dozen charged just in the greater Los Angeles area and among 150 charged federally nationwide with exploiting federal benefits that were supposed to aid those who lost their jobs during this vicious pandemic. And much of that fraud has been in California, where state auditors in January said that the troubled Employment Development Department approved at least $810 million in the names of roughly, drum roll please, 45,000 inmates, some of them on death row, and inmates are not eligible for benefits. So each of the Southern California women separately face charges of fraud in connection with emergency benefits and wire fraud. The first carries a maximum sentence of 30 years in federal prison, and the second up to 20 years. So Equia, if I'm sure I botched that name, Edwards, 35, of Moreno Valley, Mayra Ramos, 42, of Colton, also in California, were charged, and also Paris Thomas, 33, in San Bernardino. They got about 49 bogus claims going on, and now, in its full circle, the people that you used in order to fraud the government, you are about to join them.
Wow. 49
bogus claims. Well, no, there's 45,000 inmates. So this is a real big, huge...
Wait. They did 45,000?
They used the names of roughly 45... Okay, I'm going to say it slow,
No,
so I got to say it no more.
that cannot be right. 45,000.
45,000 inmates. Some of them are on death, and I won't say death. Death. I'm going to stick my tongue through my teeth and say the death row.
Oh my
and
goodness.
Inmates, irrespective of what they're in for, inmates are not eligible for unemployment. Of course, they're unemployed.
Yeah, but you know what? I didn't hear the thousand. How do you, first of all, have time to do this much fraud? 45,000 unemployment claims?
Well, okay, let's just talk about how when you're doing something good and you get results, what do? You do it again, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing here. When you're doing something bad and you're getting results, you do it again. So they were getting that money.
45,000 people, though? That's a lot of claims. What did they think was going to happen?
I guess they thought that gravy train was going to keep on producing gravy. I'm not sure, but the prosecutors have a different opinion about it. And see, what is very disturbing about that is there are some real suffering people out here that really need that money in order to make their ends meet, in order to make their families, to feed their families. Yeah. And so when you're taking resources from one end, you're also taking resources from people who actually need it.
Yes.
That money could have wiped out homelessness during this pandemic.
They sick. And my Maisha boys, they are sick. I cannot believe. In my mind, I just keep saying, these young ladies, it's not that, oh my God, greed.
Well, they evidently they obtained about $250,000 in other benefits as well. 2 are in state prison and 4 are in the county jail, and the 2 that are in the jail, the inmates, are facing murder charges. County prosecutors said, and that they said that 6 altogether will be facing charges. Yeah, 45,000.
I'm just still flabbergasted. 45,000. How much was the total sum of money that they were able to scheme using those 45,000?
Where were you when I said 1.25 million?
I just wanted to, get that back together. Make sure I was connecting dots. That is ridiculous, and I feel so sorry for the young women who was probably like, we're gonna make some money, and they probably balled out. They didn't do nothing beneficial with it. Now they facing spending majority of their lives in jail for a quick come up.
Yeah, so they range in age of 35 to about 47. So yeah, they're young enough to still have a life when they get out.
Yeah, the 30, 40 years in jail, that's your prime right there.
Yeah, so that's what I said. We're going to tell you what to do with the resources that we bring you so that
and
you can...
what not to do.
And this is definitely a shining example.
I don't care if you got 4 names. Don't do it. 45 names. 45,000, you crazy. They may need mental help. Let's get the therapist on with them because...
No, it takes a real skill set to figure out how to fraud the government to the tune of $1.2 million, but more so to figure out how to garner 450,000 names and get money off of that. But there also, it indicates that there's a breakdown in the system.
Because where do you get those names from?
Exactly. Because if you are in the penal system, then the federal government should be, they should talk to each other. Computers should talk to each other.
That's true.
So it should be a automatic denial. But evidently, even in all of our 5G, getting our economy robust to accept 5G, obviously we still have some gaps and we got work to do.
I still can't believe they have 45,000 names and did unemployment claims on 45,000 people.
Yep, it's a very troubled system, but I can say that the United States government has worked for those who actually needed the money for their employers, for their families, to an extent. Now, in every system, there are flaws. Obviously, this is one. So it is up to us and those like us to bring to light those flaws and try to bridge those gaps and fill those holes. So I'm saying to you guys, if you were ever thinking of that, this is not the example, this is not the road you want to follow.
Definitely don't do it.
Yes.
They are sick for real. You know what? I can't wait to see this episode of American Greed because I know in a few years I'm going to get to see this
I don't know
story.
if it's going to be years. I think it's going to be like right now.
Because I want to hear this story. I want to know. I just can't.
Well, okay. I tell you like Maya Angelou said, when somebody tell you something about themselves, believe it. So believers, believe it. And if you know somebody, you don't have to tell an authority, but you can tell them. You might not want to do that because I was listening to the Brunch Bunch and it didn't really turn out for those 3 young ladies like you think it's going to turn out. So do what you're supposed to do, and with everything that you do, first seek the word of the Lord. He will guide your steps and he will guide them correctly. God is grace. God will keep you. God will never fail you. And all you got to do is ask and don't doubt it. So don't doubt that when we come back, we got even more to share right here on Inspiration 1390. It's the Brunch Bunch.
Today's episode of What in the Caucasity, it hurts me to have to report another story like this. But over the weekend, police shot and killed 20-year-old Daunte Wright during a traffic stop in Brooklyn Center, Minneapolis. The shooting fueled protests in the area into Monday morning today. Details about the shooting are still being gathered, but so far this is what we know. According to the New York Times, officers pulled Wright over Sunday afternoon for a traffic violation and discovered that he had outstanding warrants. Wright's mother, Katie Wright, said her son called her as soon as he was being pulled over, and she told him to give his phone to the officer so she could provide the auto insurance information. Cops tried to detain Wright, but he supposedly got back into his car, which is when officers shot him. And I quote, "I heard scuffling and I heard the police officer say, 'Daunte, don't run.' And then the other officer said, 'Put the phone down,' and hung it up," Katie Wright said, according to ABC TV5 in Minneapolis. And a minute later, I called and his girlfriend answered. That was the passenger, and said that he'd been shot, and she put it on the driver's side, and my son was laying there lifeless. His car traveled several blocks and crashed into another vehicle, but passengers in that car were not injured. Wright's girlfriend was inside the car when he was shot, but she did not sustain life-threatening injuries. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension is currently investigating the shooting. The officers are believed to have had their body cameras on, and dash cam video may also be available. Activists are calling for the immediate release of that footage if it is available. Civil unrest broke out in Brooklyn Center on Sunday, decrying the shooting, but protesters eventually calmed. A curfew was enforced until 6 a.m. Monday. Wright's killing comes as the Twin Cities region continue to be on edge as the murder trial of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis cop who killed George Floyd, is set to continue in a courtroom less than 10 miles away. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz said in a statement posted late Sunday that he is giving this situation close attention.
And are you serious?
It's
like
as I read this, it's my chill. I'm getting chilled because I had a guest today. I was waiting on him to confirm, because if we go a few states east in Virginia, African-American lieutenant, a video was just released over the weekend showing how the police in a town in Virginia harassed him, pepper sprayed him, had him on the ground, and it was just disturbing. And as I was emailing back and forth to get him booked, I get this alert, and I'm like, when is it going to end? Now,
so he's an officer, or he's a
lieutenant. Had his full army uniform on. This is another police brutality. This is not the Daunte Wright. This happened a few months ago, and so it's been in the news because the video was just released. Now, this morning, I get the news about Daunte Wright, the 20-year-old, being killed. But where it touched me and struck me very closely, when I'm pulled over by the police and I'm 32 years old, I call my mother immediately, because I want her on the phone. If I can't get her, I'm calling somebody, because I'm like, I got to have some evidence, witnesses, because if it go down, bro, Action Jackson going to send the world up, if they do me like that. But it's said that we have to live like that.
But Wright is dead.
Dead.
For a traffic stop because he had warrants. What kind of warrants were they? I mean, did he shoot up the Kentucky Fried Chicken? Or was he standing on top of the counter with an assault rifle? What kind of warrants were outstanding that made them use deadly force?
Well, they don't say, which we'll find out in the coming weeks. But I've been there. I have been pulled over. I'll never forget, I've said on the show, suit on, in the middle of winter.
Not driving.
Not even driving. Get pulled up. It's my car, so they see that, my license is suspended. But I wasn't driving because I know my license was suspended. Didn't know I had a warrant for missing a traffic court, and had to go to jail. So it could have been something as minuscule as a bench warrant because he missed court or something. And now his life is over.
His life is over. Well, our heart and prayers and good energy goes to their family, because this is so... I'm so tired of hearing these stories, because if that was the case, and I say this all the time, if you're going to shoot them all. If you're going to take them out dignified, do it to them all. But whatever it is, let's just not restore, because we've never had equity in order for it to be restored. But let's introduce and keep constant the equitable treatment of any suspect or any person that you pull over. I don't have those kind of fears like black males do, because I haven't had that kind of experience. Now, I have had experience with the police. Of course, I fist fought them, right? Mm-hmm. But if I were a black male, I'm quite sure that would not have come out like it did, because I'm not.
No. You're a little lady, pretty. They wasn't worried.
Whatever. I appreciate that, but whatever. But I feel you, because I have brothers. I have people in my family that I fear for. I fear for you. I pray for you every single morning that there's a hedge of protection around you, because I know that it could all go down, and it could all go down bad
at any moment. And you know what's crazy? To this day, I was on my way to Home Depot this morning. Police was 2 cars behind me, and I saw them in my rearview mirror, and I just got so scared.
Because you got PTSD.
Don't let them get behind me and bother me. I don't have time for this. Then it's like, but I have nothing to worry about. I know my license is straight. I know I got insurance. But it's because I'm black and driving this car.
But do you think that lieutenant had a munked up license or anything? Do you think that lieutenant who got stopped and harassed had any warrants out for his arrest, and he was in full regalia?
Full, and he kept screaming. In the video, they pepper sprayed him in the car. And he's like, I am a lieutenant. I am dressed in full uniform. It did not matter. And they're like, black. Get out. And they had him on the ground, and he just kept saying, this is blanked up. This is blanked up. And the officer said, yeah, it is blanked up. You should just listen. You should comply with what we tell you to do. He's like, I fought for this country. I risked my life. They didn't care. But in that story in Virginia, the governor condemned it, changing some of the practices at that police force, and the officer was fired. One of the two. So we need to see more stories like this happening, because it's sad. But we're going to continue to pray for our country, pray for the police force, because there are some good officers. We need those officers to stand up and speak up more often when they see the other officers not doing right. But we just got to pray for this nation.
I agree, and there should not be a blue code. There should not be a black code. There should be a right and a wrong code. And if you are on the wrong side, then don't support that. If you are on the right side, support that. Police officers, the only way change is going to actually and authentically be effected is if you change it from the inside out. Because as you can see, and we talked about the 14th Amendment, the states have the right not to persecute people who have done harm to other citizens. Yeah. And so you consider, even though they're in law enforcement, they're still a citizen when it suits them.
What I want, because the pandemic, we're going through a pandemic right now that's nearing its end. But this racial pandemic that we've been in for hundreds of years, we need to really focus on ending that pandemic.
I'm trying to figure out what news feed sent you that we're nearing the end of the pandemic.
Well, I'm saying we're nearing the end, and that was my kind of segue to talk about my COVID vaccination appointment this past weekend.
Tell.
So
I've been looking for growths. I don't see them.
So on Saturday, I have been reporting that I was going to get my COVID vaccine, the Johnson & Johnson, and we pumped it on the show. Unfortunately, believers, I did not go. And it wasn't because I didn't want to, but Hallelujah. Walgreens, and I took the sign, Walgreens at the last minute decided to close all of the separate sites down and do it at one location, which made me a little upset. But I do want to thank the city of Chicago and Walgreens for their efforts to provide vaccinations to the most vulnerable communities on the west side and their effort to partner with faith-based communities. But I also want to say it's kind of bogus when at the last minute you change locations, because some people were only going to get vaccinated in their community because it was close for them to get there. Everybody didn't have to. Some people got lost in the gap. I talked to a few people like, well, since it's moved, I can't go because I don't have transportation, or I can't get there, and there was nothing I can do to get these hundreds of people there
at the last minute.
At the last minute, because it was literally when I left here Friday. I think I was emailing about, I emailed about Matt coming to do some filming, and they emailed me back and said, oh, the location has been changed. And I'm like, okay, well, God, I guess that's a sign, because I did say on the air that the only reason I was getting it was because it was at my church, and I trust my first lady, and I knew some praying folks was going to be around. But unfortunately, they moved it, so I didn't go. But that's what happens in our community. But we do want to still thank the city. There were a lot of moving parts, and the decision was made. And
what was the motivation to make that decision, though?
Well, because I work in the community and politics, smoke and mirrors, I believe. They wanted it to look like a bigger turnout because the mayor did come, and they wanted everybody in one location. So for the news,
so the
you
mayor's
can see.
car doesn't go to the church?
Well, I ain't gonna talk about. I don't know.
I'm gonna talk about it. Anybody gonna stop me from talking about it? I'm trying to figure out. She couldn't go to the church where everybody was supposed to be there, because that makes the population fall off. Like whatever your turnout was gonna be, like let's just say you had a concert. Let's say Jay-Z was coming, because this is as big as Jay-Z. This vaccine according to these people, and then Jay-Z said, "Okay, you know what? I'm not gonna be at the stadium. I'm gonna be in the park." Yeah, you're gonna lose a few.
I don't know with Jay-Z. I think everybody gonna go wherever he say he going.
Okay, well, that ain't Jay-Z then.
But that ain't Jay-Z, because listen, you change that vaccine location, I changed my mind. Yeah. So it's sad that happens in our community. But I'm excited that I have a proactive church and pastor, and not all the way reactive. So the Brunch Bunch is partnering with Corinthian Temple and a live church network with Rush Hospital to
good.
serve the communities with vaccinations, and they are the 2-shot vaccinations. But I will report that my mother and father didn't get the memo fast enough, and I didn't want to scare her or anything. So she went and got her shot. She's happy. She is doing fine. I think it made her a little high, though.
Oh, she got the one.
She got the one, the Johnson & Johnson, but she hasn't had any side effects. Okay. She hasn't. She said she was a little tired, but we were talking, and she was just laughing. I'm like, have you been drinking, even though my mother don't drink? And she said, no, the vaccine just got me feeling real good, I think. I said, oh, well, that's a pretty cool side effect versus being sick and tired and drained.
Oh, that definitely is, particularly just off the wake of setting out that ovarian cancer Johnson & Johnson did.
And then another thing, a report came out, 4 states have disallowed Johnson & Johnson vaccines because of side effects. And so that came out that night, and I was like, wait a minute, God, thank you, bro. Thank you. I'll go get the Moderna or the Pfizer. But I'm glad that the people who were able to go, and a lot of Brunch Bunch listeners still was able to get the change because we were getting tagged on social media. Thank you for the information. I am fully vaccinated. So shout out to all the people that did. Shout out to the City of Chicago and Walgreens for trying their best. Y'all bogus for moving it last minute, but at least the people still got it. Later this week, we'll report on how you can connect with us and get your vaccination at Rush Hospital, where the location will not be changing. And me and Tamera go this time together, hopefully.
Well, as you tell, I'm definitely not going now.
But
First of all, I never, ever, ever said I was going to get a vaccine. Anybody can play back the tape, and no, I am not going to get a vaccine.
I've been praying hard, though, that maybe this was a sign that we can go together.
You couldn't even go.
Because maybe it's meant for us to go together.
No. No. I don't know how many ways I can say it. Spanish? No. Nanka. Nada. I'm not doing it.
Well, before I end this segment, I know I done talked about 2 topics, and listen. If somebody calling to check me for not going to get my vaccine, hang up.
Check you and I don't want to hear about it. Caller, say what?
Caller, you there?
Caller, what do you say about this vaccine? Or if that's what you call to even talk about. We definitely want to hear from the peoples. Oh, they hung up. You know why they hung up? You know why they hung up? Because they got the disconnection from the phone, but they're going to call back. And we're going to wait on that call. But in the meantime, you do not have to go to heaven until it's your time. You can have heaven right here on earth. Come through, Mary. Come on. Tell the people what they got in store for them. Y'all, it's Inspiration 1390.
Main man Action Jackson, and I'm proudly posted up with
the non-vaccinated Tamera Fair on the air. What's up, y'all? We got an update.
Before we go into any updates or anything, the Bible teaches us where 2 or 3 are gathered together, I'll be in the midst. I'll, as in God, will be in the midst.
Glad you cleared that up.
So I need you all to touch and agree that Tammy get this vaccine. But listen, I want to do a special shout out before I go into this update. today is my best friend. Both of them, two of my best friends, born on the same day. I want to wish a special happy 33rd birthday to my BFF, Maisha Sample.
Woo-hoo!
And I want to wish a heavenly birthday to my friend, Aaron. These two are my two closest friends. Aaron passed away a few years ago, but I'm always thinking about him. And I thought about him this weekend. I didn't even realize his birthday was coming up. Aaron was my boy, and we were moving into the new house, and I told Valencia, I said, boy, if Aaron was here, he'll be helping me move boxes. He'll be laughing. We'll be having a good time. He'd be so happy. I said, so...
next to you when the next box you move.
That's it. So happy birthday, Maisha and Aaron. And, of course, to Aaron's twin brother, Elder Lawrence Beasley. Happy birthday to you, too, sir. Now, we just got an update on the Daunte Wright story that we talked about earlier. The suburban Minneapolis police officer who fatally shot 20-year-old unarmed Daunte during a traffic stop Sunday apparently meant to fire a taser, but instead made an accidental discharge from her gun, the police chief said Monday. Less than 24 hours after a female officer, and it was a female officer in Brooklyn Center Police Department, shot and killed Daunte Wright. Police Chief Tim Gannon played an unedited clip of police body camera video showing the fatal incident for the media. The video, which was played at a news conference, shows two officers approach the vehicle, one on each side. The third officer approaches later as the two attempt to handcuff Wright, and he struggles. The third officer threatens that she will tase him before firing. Immediately thereafter, she is heard saying, "Holy blank, I shot him," apparently realizing that she fired her service weapon instead of her taser. Commander Gannon described it as an accidental discharge that resulted in the tragic death of Mr. Wright.
Okay, so there's so many things wrong with that. That's training gone all wrong. That's like the difference between picking up a brush and a bottle. They feel different. They act different. They have totally different mechanisms. And if you are an officer, you should be able to distinguish between a taser and a gun. Okay, that maybe they have the tasers that are made like guns. So there's a disconnect right there. Stop doing that. My taser is a little like valve. There's absolutely no mistaking. But I'm not in law enforcement, and I do. Well, I'm not gonna tell you, but I got
it just
gun.
makes me But
plus, there's a de-escalation that should be involved.
Well,
in it.
I guess you were trying to de-escalate with the taser.
That's not a de-escalation, Marcel.
Yeah.
If you tase me, I tased my uncle. We had a fight.
Oh my Lord! Well, we definitely praying for Tammy and this taser. But listen, I am so peed off because even reading this just making me shake over here because I'm so sick of hearing these accidents happen. Are they just hiring fools on the force?
That's what I'm saying. Perhaps there's I don't know, we have to figure out, is there a lack of officers in Minneapolis, and maybe they're fast tracking them and so therefore missing some valuable training? But
it's not just Minneapolis. No. It's across the country. Breonna Taylor officer said, "Oh, it was a mistake," and I was just, how do you just air out an apartment? You at the wrong apartment. The young lady who was here, who Chicago police left naked for 45 minutes to an hour in her apartment because they were in the wrong apartment. How do you keep botching stuff like this up with black people? Why doesn't these accidents happen with other races?
Because the de-escalation process with other races is in place. With black people, there's a tremendous community law enforcement fear. When I say tremendous community, this is reciprocal. Mm-hmm. The community fears law enforcement fears the community. So that's why you should have people that look like you policing you in your community. And there should be retraining for all national police officers, anybody that's on the street. And then I also think that when you're talking about true reform, that those 911 calls, call centers definitely need to have some professionals, de-escalation professionals in, so that if there is a domestic call or if there is something that is not a police matter, that those professionals can actually take the course and bring to whatever, the resolve to whatever it happens to be. But de-escalation is the first thing, the first order of business.
I'm almost with throw the whole police force away. Defund. And when they were saying defund the police, I really wasn't like with it until I understood they were saying to not put so much money, because now I guess they're just mass hiring people. These people are not getting properly trained. Another issue that I see, the officers that patrol communities are not from those communities, know nothing about the communities. That's a problem. So I think we need to defund just hiring so many more officers and put more money into training, because somebody made a point. To be a barber in Illinois, you got to be state licensed. You don't have to have any special licensing to be a police or get it renewed yearly.
Well, I want to hear from law enforcement. If you're listening, believers, and you're in law enforcement and you are actually boots on the ground, what do you see the problem as? Because we hear and we can come up with all sorts of remedies, but we are not a law enforcement. So definitely give us a call, 312-591-3878, 312-591-3878. I want to hear from you, because it's you that we're talking about. We got to give you an opportunity to defend yourself. Or maybe you've come up with some remedies yourselves that if certain things are enacted, certain things are put in place, then we can start to bridge and stitch together these broken community relations.
Yeah, you know what? This just drained me. If I was a drinking man, I'd go have a drink now.
Well, we're going to go to commercial for a second so that you can go have your spiritual drink. Y'all don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. It's Inspiration 1390. I don't care if everybody around you today tells you that you're nothing, that you're not enough, that you don't count. We are telling you that you are enough. You are more than enough. And God loves you. Therefore, you are loved. Take that energy with you in everything that you do today, because you are incredible. You were magnificently made. So
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. So tomorrow is Tell the Truth Tuesday, and we definitely want you to tune in, because we got a lot of information to give you tomorrow, and we're going to have fun while we do it. So I want you guys to really pray for Marseille, and I'm not talking about the vaccine right now. I'm talking about, I literally watched the spirit drain out of him as he was reporting that news to you, and that's how it is with other people when they're reading this and they're associating it. This is me, this is my son, this is my uncle, my brother. This is what we have come to. But actually, we never actually went away from it.
Never.
No, but it's time. It is time.
It's time 99. Well, you know what? It's draining because, like you said, I can identify and say that could have been me, or it could have been my nephew. And it's so sad that I had to tell my nephew, be careful while you're outside. If you have a run-in with the police, be respectful. Don't say it. But then when I see viral videos of young white teenagers cursing cops out and telling them, don't touch me and I know my rights. And
with a rifle in your hand.
And nothing happens, which I don't want anything to ever happen, but
it's incensing.
It's
definitely incensing.
It's tiring. It's draining. But I pray that God continues to lift the standard and give me the joy that surpasses all understanding. Because I'll be all right. We'll be all right, believers. But we have to stay vigilant, stay in tune, and stay prayed up.
And just remember, too, that true change is going to come when we arm in arm with our white brothers and actually put mechanisms and systems in place that everyone can partake in, and no one is excluded. So we always want to encourage you to keep Love 24 alive. Tell someone that you don't know, a perfect stranger, or even if you know them and that has previously, before this message, been your enemy, that you love them. Tell someone and show someone that you do know that you love them. I love you, Marcel.
I almost said I love you, Action Jackson, because I'm waiting on you to say I love you, Tammy Phil.
Yeah, you discombobulated. We love you, believers. Up next, AC Green, and then tomorrow, you definitely want to set your alarm. We out of here, y'all. We dropping the mic. We'll pick it back up tomorrow. Peace and stay optimistic.